Good afternoon and welcome. Today we are discussing money moves and money moves that really matter. And what I mean by that is probably to explore that side of the financial decisions that help you actually build real wealth and the moves with money that ultimately matter to your success. And success for investors, entrepreneurs. I know you don't really like that title, Jim, but these kind of people, they think differently about money, and that's how they've become successful. And it's built through their smart habits, long-term thinking. And as we've discussed, and we will discuss a lot more today, owning assets that grow over time and actually earn. So, yeah, and the key message we're going to try and get across today is that when you make these smart money moves, they actually make the money work for you rather than you actually doing the work to earn, if that makes sense. Would you agree, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm still amazed, and I'm still amazed at the amount of people that actually don't realise that building wealth is so easy. I'll say it again: building wealth is so easy. You wouldn't, if you saw how easy it was, you'd probably actually just dismiss it and think, nah, it can't be that easy. Because it's the old adage about, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
I think to
that's what we're taught, aren't we? To be completely skeptical of things that seem so easy. But if you're just putting your money into a compounding fund over the long term, the three things that you've got leverage on people to do work for you, leverage on time, and leverage on money. That's the three things you want leverage on. Definitely. And you've got leverage on time because you've got time if you're a lot younger or if your children have just been born. You've got time to compound wealth. You've possibly got money, I've not got that much money. Like, have you got a tenner a month? Have you got £20 a month? Because if you start somewhere, it's better than zero. That's the reality. Have you got other people that you could leverage? Possibly you can get someone else to do this for you because you've maybe not got the time to do it. You're leveraging your time again, you see, because you're using other people's skills. You might have to compensate them for it, but who cares? 100%, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think to put it into perspective as well, some people who are watching me,
I should get a T-shirt that just says "You're absolutely right."
You're right, but I think people might watch this and think you make it all sound so easy, and the grand scheme of things, it is, as long as you have the right mindset and apply yourself and things as well. Jim, you've obviously done this and been successful and got to a certain point, and that's why we do these shows and kind of trying to extract all this stuff for your brain and your journey. For me, it's a learning experience as well. I mean, there's some stuff on here which we go through and I think, God, I'm not doing that yet, or I should be doing that. And do you know,
Richard, if you're not a millionaire by the time you retire, there's something wrong.
if I don't use and apply all this, then there's something wrong. I've obviously not taken it on board. So I think for people watching, it isn't that straightforward in the beginning until you get that right mindset. But once you get obviously in that mindset and you see the results, it then does obviously become apparent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So and to round up before we go on about the kind of wealth blueprint, and we did discuss this in the last show, but wealthy people follow quite a basic blueprint, and to simplify it, firstly they focus on increasing their initial income, and whether that's by developing their skills in their job to get a better pay, whether they then maybe branch out and create additional income streams, just something to increase that income so that they've got that ability to then have extra money to invest. And then the trick is, obviously, once you start getting that extra income, is not to spend it. A second, and control your spending, because if you make that extra income and just spend it, then
okay, let's slow down for people that don't understand what's going on here. Let's take one step at a time.
Yeah.
Because we've got a wee bit of time to spend on this. And the first one you said there, they focus on increasing income by learning valuable skills and creating a multiple income stream, so to speak. Now, that could be income out of a side hustle that they're doing. It could be income out of their normal job. It could be an increase because they've added value to what they do. Their job has maybe changed because of they've been the go-to person now for everybody saying, look, I need a solution for this, I need a solution for that. And so their job was maybe originally, for my job, it was originally just a section leader in accounts in Tillis Russell. And then all of a sudden it's the managing director, the finance director actually, would come to me and say to me, well, actually, I need, you know, could you do this? Could you do that? Is it possible to do this? Is it possible to do that? Plus the fact I put suggestions forward about how to make the whole department more efficient, if not the whole company, because then everything got made efficient as a result of what I was saying and what I was doing. Because I was doing it on a, you know, I was proving the model for them. This is how I want to be more efficient. If you give me this, if you give me that, if you do that, I'll be able to save it in this time. And then they saw the benefit of that and they went, wait a minute, we could roll this out to everybody and make them more efficient in what they're doing and make it easier, their job, to make it, to speed up everything.
Streamline things.
Yeah, streamline and actually get more productivity out of that working day for each person. But I don't mean make people work harder. What I mean, make people work smarter. That's the key.
Yeah.
Well, you could do that in a job and you could show and you could demonstrate that you could add value in a way that you weren't actually employed for in the first place. Then that's where you add value and that's where they see value. So then when you come to do a salary review or a wage review or whatever it is, then yeah, you could argue your corner about this. You can use that as evidence.
That's what I was just going to ask you then. Obviously, you implemented these systems and processes that streamlined things and saved time and, you know, had everybody working smarter rather than harder and longer hours. Did you then see the direct result for you personally as a valued, you know, employee and obviously the income that you receive for that?
While there was no way for me to develop into another role in the companies that I started off in, because these roles are, you know, it's like, what do they call it? Dead man's shoes. It's like you're waiting for someone else to basically go in some shape or form in order for you to get their job. And I was never like that type of person. I'm no sitting there waiting for someone. So I learn as much as possible. And then when it makes it valuable for someone else, and I see it's valuable for someone else, then yeah, it's probably time to think about a different path in terms of what I did. So I use different paths in order to add more value to what I do. But I learned a lot of things or skills. I would call them skills rather than things. I learned a lot of skills that weren't relevant to my job in the existing jobs I was in, and I was happy to do that for free, literally just for the same salary I was getting there and then and out, because I was learning a lot at the same time. It's kind of like an intern. You know how they come and work for nothing?
So much, yeah.
I mean, I wasn't working for nothing, but they were teaching me valuable skills that wasn't relevant to my job. Plus the fact I was learning valuable skills that were relevant to, you know, a job that was far greater than what I was doing. That's the point. So don't get despondent when you're learning new skills and you're asked to do new things relevant for your job. Because I tell you what, if it ever came to a round of cuts, because there's maybe a recession, you're the last one to go, because you've created so much value in what you do, they can't afford to let you go because you're doing other things that actually you're not even meant to be doing. So you become the number one, and the last one to be considered, or even be considered at all, to go. You make yourself so valuable for that reason. And then, but if a position does come up, you're considered for it. I mean, I had that ESA Macintosh.
Yeah.
We couldn't find a skilled credit control manager, because remember, it's all about work in progress payments as well in terms of what we were doing, because we're managing huge contracts, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds and school refits. So it's work in progress you're working on as well, and part payments, and, you know, all the way through. So they couldn't find somebody skilled enough in credit control in order to be able to do that. But they had me, which was in the accountancy division, as a financial controller. And I had that skill as a financial controller for work in progress payments. But I also had a skill in credit control, which was gained out of my side hustle, which was collecting rents. Yeah, collecting rents and dealing with local authority as well for housing benefit, for receipts of housing benefit as well, and how that process works and how to manage these situations. Plus the fact I was reading at the advisory note of my mentors and developing another side hustle business, which didn't, I mean, moderately successful, but it's no longer something I do. But I learned a lot of skills in that effectively as a result of being self-employed in that sort of home shopping era, before even home shopping was a thing, or direct to your door was a thing either. Amazon never existed or anything like that. So I learned a huge amount of skills. My mentors actually directed me and guided me and told me the books I should be reading. And I'd read as a result of that today. So these skills were all honed and developed out of that, which actually, again, added even more value in terms of what I was doing. So it was a natural fit for us easily to get a financial controller, because I knew someone already that was looking for that upgrade, who was really skilled in what they did and underappreciated where they were. So I then phoned this person up and says, how would you like to come and interview for, you know, the job that I've got? Because I'm moving to a different division in the company to help them out, because we just couldn't find somebody with these multi-skills, an accountant and a credit controller. So I took over the credit control department, whereas this person walked in and moved in as a financial controller. So it worked perfectly well. So see how all these different skills I've learned all these years, just because I've wanted to do more and wanted to learn more, has benefited me overall.
And it demonstrates as well how powerful it is to pick up knowledge and skill along the way, even if, like you say, you venture into something and it's not been entirely successful, maybe monetary wise, but not a loss. But then you gain so much experience that you could use
experience
in future. Yeah.
Failure teaches you more than success.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second part of this was to obviously not get to that position where you've got this extra income or generating extra income, and then just to spend it and be quite haphazard with your spending and using that for things that are liabilities as opposed to assets.
Taking on too many things too early because you think you've got a lot of money, disposable income. This is classic what happens when people get upgrades in jobs or get new jobs or they get bonuses and stuff like that. They go and spend it straight away or they commit to ongoing costs. I want to get a new car. I want to get a bigger house. And I actually took a back step when I got an upgrade in my salary and in my position. I then says, see this house, this is far too big for us. If we sell this, we can buy something half the price. And that means we would have more money to invest in, you know, proper investment or anything else we want to invest in. Invest, not spend. And we would have a monthly running cost, which for me at the time was under £1,000 for everything. Our food, our clothes, our house, our cars, everything.
Which sounds, in today's, obviously in today's life, that's not a lot. But we're talking
even at that point, Richard, people were on spending £2,000 a month. It's like a lot of people didn't realise. I mean, I had disposable income of probably about £2,000 a month at that time. But I just put that into proper investment. We just looked after what we needed to do. But the great thing as well, it allowed Elaine then to step back from her position. And it's only because the opportunity came up for 3 times the redundancy at the time. So we waited for that to happen, and then when that happened, it was like, this makes absolute sense. 3 times the redundancy. I know what I could do with that money because it was prime. I was sitting there. I had prepared and the opportunity had arrived, and that was the point of readiness for investment. So it was like, yeah, let's do it. I could invest that. I could buy another 3 or 4 houses with that as deposits, because they were doing 90% loan to value at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where you were using the money to purchase assets and things that increase over value and create that cash flow. And that's the things that you need to do is invest this money consistently rather than spending.
That was your third thing here, is invest consistently and think long term. I'm always been a long term thinker. That's who I am. You know, I've still not really met somebody that actually thinks this long term like me. But I think it's just a natural trait that you develop over time based on the people you're associated with and the people you learn from as well, and things like the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, all these different things will influence that. And learning the wealthy, you know, it's patience and compounding. Just waiting for it to happen. That's it, really.
Yeah.
But if you see an opportunity where you could speed it up, then that was where I looked at things. It's like, it's that opportunity to speed it up. That's the thing that came for me. How do I get there quicker? Because I know where there is. So how can I get there quicker?
Yeah. What's the quickest avenue to get to that point?
Yeah. Water finds the easiest way. So I was looking for the easiest way. What is the easiest way and the fastest way to get where I want to get? Because I know what I need to do. I know the properties I need to have. I know the income I need to have coming in, and I'll get there quicker.
Yeah. And when it comes to your money and your assets and things as well, it's always smart to think about having money aside, you know, still having some savings to back that up if you're doing investment things, also having insurances to cover your assets if anything was to go wrong, and always have that smart kind of financial planning and thinking ahead, and not just doing things kind of haphazardly, which I see a lot of people, they do it and make mistakes and end up paying for it.
So we had exposure to about 600,000 in mortgages on property at the time because of the credit crunch that were exposed. In other words, they were a bit less than what the actual value of the mortgages were in terms of loan to value, because it dropped now from 90% loan to value to 75% loan to value. You weren't allowed to do 90% anymore. So therefore, the properties haven't really appreciated. They're actually gone back a wee bit. So we were exposed to that. So yeah, absolutely. We got risk insurance for that. In the event of death, it'll pay these mortgages off. So we don't have any contention, and that won't affect the rest of the properties.
Yeah, which is
that's what I did. And now I've actually moved them from our name into a limited company. We don't have that insurance anymore. We only needed it for a short period of time. Well, a medium period of time, but 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
But at that time, it was a smart decision to make, just to kind of mitigate that situation.
If anything happens, we're screwed. It's like they were in Elaine's name, and if anything happened to Elaine, the mortgage company would come along and go, well, we're not going to transfer it to you because it's no coming in our criteria anymore. We want you to sell them to cash it in. And I'm like, I'm not cashing them in. They're making money. They're making money, even though they've not got the wealth value to them. They're still making money. Imagine having assets that really aren't worth anything net worth wise, the liabilities minus the assets, but you're still making an absolute fortune in the money coming in on it. And that's what happened in the credit crunch.
Yeah, and that kind of ties in with that statement I've put at the end here, which is, the goal is not just to make the money, it's to keep and grow it as well.
Yeah, and I go back to saying again, it's like the limited companies, I've never taken any money out of the limited companies for the property. It's always just gone back in. And I'm like thinking, at what point am I actually going to take something out? And it's like, I'm not really sure if I really need to.
And I know, obviously, personally, you've put so much back into the actual, the properties and the stock themselves, and that's the only thing that ever comes. I think
for most, what we'd call for most investors, I wouldn't say entrepreneurs, for most investors, I would say it gets to a tipping point where it now becomes almost a game. It's the wealth building becomes a game, And they're not really bothered about they just like to see the reward, but they're not really bothered what happens with it. So that's why you see a lot of people that are in a wealthy position now give a huge amount to other causes. And see the people that sit in the cheap seats and criticize. They're the ones that say, "Oh, they're getting a tax deduction for it," and it's like, okay, they're getting 25% off or whatever it is, but they're still paying 75% out of their own money.
Mm-hmm.
So go figure.
Yeah,
it's like they're not getting it all free back to them. It's like they're getting they're getting 25% off. They're still paying 75% out to the charity in their money.
mm-hmm.
So that tax thing, oh, you're dodging tax, doing that, giving to charity, that doesn't hold water at all.
No, and I think you can't really dodge tax, and if you do, you'll be fined. You'll be found out. There's no really way around it.
You're always found out at some point in time, and it's something I would never do. I was going to say probably, but I've never done.
Never, no.
Yeah. It's like what is the point? It's like at some point in time, you'll always be looking over your shoulder. You'll always be wondering when you're going to get an audit. You'll always be nervous about your situation. You'll always be exposed to that if anything happens, and you never know when it could happen or when it will or why it will happen. It'd be crazy, absolutely crazy to do that.
Yeah, it's not a smart decision to even consider that, and it will always come back to bite you, and probably in a very detrimental way. So be very careful of that. But let's drill down on property and making smart investment moves with property, because as we've demonstrated quite a lot talking about your portfolio, Jim, and things, property remains one of the strongest wealth building tools, and that's because it creates cash flow, it's got long-term growth, and enables you to leverage yourself. Absolutely. to a level where there isn't another asset that could do that as good as property.
Let's get this urban myth out of the way.
Yeah.
When prices are rising and property is unaffordable for some people, and legislation is coming in, and you're getting a baton by the government and the councils and everything like that, being a buy-to-let landlord and private investor and all the rest of it, and everybody wants to take wealth away. There seems to be this thing about let's eat the rich and take all their money and let's all be equal. It's like, okay, thanks, I've worked for that. But apart from that, and you get the investor saying, well, when is really now the best time to invest in property? Yeah, of course it is. Every time is the time to invest. Now is always the best time to invest in property. And here's the bit it pays, the phrase that pays at the end. If the numbers make sense. If the numbers work, now is always the time to invest in property. Whether there's a war going on, whether there's a crisis over here, or whether the government's trying to tax you more, or whether there's trying to do it. Because if they're taxing you more, they're taxing everybody else more. So we're all going to a level playing field again, proportionately. That's what most people don't understand. They think they should stop investing because they're going to get more money taken off them. And it's like, okay, but you're still. I'll come back to saying 75% of something's better than 100% of nothing.
Yeah,
because you've not got anything anyway. So yeah, okay, the government takes a bit more tax. Just one of these things. If you don't like it, move. Sell up, move, do something. Obviously, we don't want you to move. Let's just explain that, because some people in here will go, yeah, get rid of them. It's like, no, we don't want rid of the people that are wealthy, because they take their money and they spend it back in this country.
Yeah.
So you don't want them to leave. Oh, but we'll be able to tax your assets. Yeah, you will be able to tax your assets, and you'll do that every single year. But the income that they take out, which will be quite considerable, will be spent somewhere else. So every time you'll have a net deficit all the time, because that money is getting spent in another country. So they're taking their investments out of here. It's like your local Starbucks or your local McDonald's. The main costs involved are going to head office, who are going to corporate shareholders who are not in the area, who don't spend the money back in the area. The employees do, because they work there, and that's okay. but the sales, the profit, doesn't get spent back in this area. So therefore, what happens is you actually have a net deficit of the money going out as to what's coming, what's staying in, and that's what you don't want to have. I mean, that's what the carry on the now is for. That's what's happening now. It's the current regime in terms of the government do not understand that concept, and the fact that you don't want wealthy people to leave. You actually want to attract wealthy people from other countries to come and live here, because guess what they'll do? They'll take their money from that country they're earning and they'll spend it here. We will have a net surplus of money coming in because it's not getting generated here, remember. So therefore, when it comes from another country and gets spent here, it buys goods and services which we are producing. That's why I'm a big fan of local producers and local traders. People that actually invest in their own companies and they run their own companies in their communities.
And live in the local area.
I'm not a big fan of corporate shareholders. I'm not a big fan of McDonald's. I'm not a big. I mean, I love their model. I think it's fantastic.
Duplicate, the way they do it.
Duplicate. And I love the principle of it. But I don't like the idea of having the money go out of the area to somewhere else and doesn't get reinvested back in the area.
And that's what you see in a lot of the smaller areas throughout the country are getting McDonald's and Starbucks and things, and that's going to be the thing, because
they don't realise their money's going out. They're all going, yeah, we're getting a McDonald's, and you don't realise the implications economically about what's about to happen. Because then they take away the finite business for the other places that would normally get carryouts and takeaways, and they then go to McDonald's and spend it there. But they're creating jobs. No, they're not. They're just taking the jobs from the people that lose their job from the other place that you've just lost their customers from, and they're moving them to there. That's all they're doing. Shuffling the deck chairs on the deck of the Titanic at that point.
Yeah, it's quite a good analogy. Yeah. So, and you're absolutely right with that. And when you say it like that, it does sound very simple. Of course, we get that, but people just don't grasp it, really. Honest.
No, because we're pretty one-dimensional. We don't think a bigger picture. We don't think on a macro level, do we? We think on minutia, micro level, where it's like all the details. It was like, oh, like that's great, that's happening, but we forget everything else that's happening over here. But they want you to forget everything else that's happening over here because they don't want you to focus on the fact that your money is disappearing out to another area.
Yeah. So, and then talking about money, when we come back to property investment. As an investor in things yourself, Jim, it's like the use of mortgages and using that model for lending and things to buy these appreciating assets, which are obviously housing and property. A lot of people still feel they don't want to take on mortgages to fund it, and they try, if they've got a pot, they try and buy cash. Why is that not a good idea?
Yeah, it's a classic example about don't acquire debt. Because you don't want to get into debt. It's like this thing about don't get into debt. Yeah, absolutely. Don't get into bad debt.
Yes.
Which is like, short-term loans to buy things.
Credit cards and things.
Buy new cars, go on fancy holidays, things like that. Loans taking out for that. Yeah, pay cash. I'll pay it off at the end of the credit card period. That's all I do. Every month I just pay my credit card off, but I get points. It goes towards giving me something for free. And that's the whole point of me using it. I don't use it to accumulate debt like that, but I use mortgages strategically. And they are, as I said before, the three. It's time, finance, or other people's skills. Leverage. Definitely finance, isn't it? So I'm taking the bank's money that I'm maybe borrowing at 5 or 6%. And if I can make a return of 15%, then I'm clearing 10%. 100% of nothing? 70% of something? Yeah, same thing. That's all I'm doing with the bank. I'm because I wouldn't have had it anyway. So I may as well just use the bank's money and make 25% of something. But at this point in time, as opposed to the 25% you've got in and the money you would make, it tends to be a bit more in terms of the return on investment. Yeah. If you get the numbers right.
Yeah. And generally you stick to long-term residential buy-to-let investing. There is other options when it comes to property HMOs can be very lucrative if done right. There is a lot. That's a big difference from residential lets as well.
Specialise.
And then, yeah, and a lot of people do
specialise. Let me just explain. Specialise. Yeah. I specialise in long-term residential renting. I am not interested in doing anything else. I do not deviate from that model. And the reason why is because if you specialise in an area, you get a reputation for it, and everybody else falls out of that. And then you've got a long-term reputation. Let me explain who's got a great reputation for specialisation and sticks to their core principle. Rightmove. Market dominant, extremely profitable, and all they ever do is show other people's properties. That's it. Yeah. All they've ever done. They've no actually thought, we could do this, we could do that, we could add on this, we could add on that. That's the sort of thing. So Rightmove. And another one, Auto Trader. Yeah. They just sell people's cars online.
Same
That's
idea.
It. They do it very, very well, and they're the best in it. Where's Kazoo now?
Is that the purple one? Or
yeah. They lasted 3 years. Do you know at one point in time, Kazoo was valued at 8 billion?
Really?
Yes.
I would never
8 billion it was valued at, and it is no longer here. Because they wanted to get involved in other people's markets.
I was just going to say, is it because they try to change things too much? Yeah.
Look at Purple Bricks. Classic example. Oh, we're going to America. Oh, we're going to Australia. Oh, we're going to, and it's, we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll do this and we'll do that all at once. And it's like, you spread yourself far too thin. You are done for. You've got you've lost the most important thing in your business, and it's cash flow. It's the blood. The lifeblood of your business is cash flow. And because you've diversed so quickly and jumped into other markets, you run out of money. And if you run out of money, you're out of business, even though you're profitable. Because you don't have anything to pay anybody. And I mean, you can't run out of money even though you're profitable, because you're paying back debt. That's why. You don't get a tax deduction for paying back debt. Just like in a buy-to-let mortgage, if you've got capital repayment, you don't get a tax deduction on the capital element. You will get a tax deduction on the interest-only element for a limited company in full. Obviously, Section 24 for a self-employed person would come into play, and you get a tax credit of 20%. But that's a different story. And that's what people need to understand. So mortgages are strategically acquired to appreciate assets instead of using debt for things that lose value. That's the whole point. So yes, it's a misnomer. It's not true when people say, oh my God, I don't want to get a mortgage because I might get into trouble. And it's like, sell the house then if you get into trouble. But I tell you what, let's give you a quick example. What I used to tell everybody when it was 90% loan to value mortgages, with 100,000, you could be a millionaire in 15 to 20 years with 100,000 investment. How could you do that? Well, you just need to buy 10 houses and put £10,000 down for each house, because they're ready to go at that level, at 100,000 each. Put 10,000 down for each house at that time. You'd have 10 houses valued at 100,000. You've only put 100,000 in because you've got the deposits. And after 15 to 20 years, they double in value, and you have made $1 million on 100 grand. Plus the fact you've not even taken into account any money you would make off the rent. That's the reason why I said just keep putting it back in. Just keep building it. Just keep improving your stock.
And that strategy brings me to the question I was going to ask you. So a big part of some people's property strategy is property refinancing. And we've seen people do this over and over and over. And again, maybe too much. I mean, it's not to say property refinancing can be part of a successful strategy if done right. But a lot of people have done it to their detriment.
Yeah, it can be. Property refinancing can be used for that purpose. But you've got to be extremely careful, and you need to know what you're doing. If you're refinancing to buy more assets, then that's okay. If you're refinancing to put new kitchens, new bathrooms and everything, you have to make sure that what you're putting in is actually adding the true value into the property.
The value back in.
Well, then you're going to leave yourself, open. If you're refinancing to take money out for yourself, now that is a dangerous strategy. I know somebody, we all know somebody, Andy Shaw, who lost 300 properties in the credit crunch because Andy took 2% out every year as part of his strategy 2% of the value in order to spend it on Ferraris and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which is not a smart decision.
Yeah. It seemed like a smart decision at the time, but the credit crunch came along and devalued all his properties by 20%. And because he had been continually taking 2% of the value every year, then he couldn't cover the loan to value, and therefore the banks foreclosed on him.
Completely exposed that, and then, yeah.
So, but remember, as we finish off this about property and smart investing, wealthy people own assets, businesses, or investments that continue to produce income over time. You have to get this investor mindset. Wealth creation is much psychology as it's financial. You know, the times where I've just got to sit on my hands and just not do anything is so difficult. So difficult, because you're thinking,
because it's only human nature to feel like, right, what we're going to do now, what we're going to do next, and I want to do something, and then
for us to want, and I don't mean in a greedy way, just to aspire to be better, to improve on what we're doing. So if you've got this sort of level, you see another level. It's like the climbing the mountain. You get over one summit, and all of a sudden you see the next summit, and then you see the next summit, and you keep going and going and going. Look at me. It's just that I've just finished 2 marathons, and I'm like, right, what's next? Ultra.
What do I do next?
Ultra marathon. Let's do a 30-odd miler. And it's like, if you had said to me in the beginning when I was running a 5K, it's like, yeah, you'll do an ultra marathon one day. It's like, no chance.
No.
But now I think, oh yeah, okay, I could do that.
It's doable, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happens. So it's much psychology as it's financial. And you've got to think, again, I come back to saying it's a long-term strategy. This is not get rich quick. And it's not, you can't get emotion involved in this. It has to be so clinical that you just stick to it every single time. Stick to it every single time. I am still putting money away in certain things every single time for the past 20 years. The same amount every single time. It's never changed.
Yeah, and having that delayed gratification, and that's a difficult thing in itself. And Jim, you have to believe in that you're going to get that, that delayed gratification feeling later down the line. Because if you don't believe it, you're never going to stick to it. And you could speak from your experience and where you are in life now, that you are so glad you delayed that gratification earlier on.
Well, I knew it was coming anyway.
But that's what I mean, because you had belief in the process in yourself.
Well, did I have belief? Yeah, but I had more than belief. I had mathematics on my side, and it was like, this is a foregone conclusion. It's, if I put that in, and it makes that, and I reinvest that, and I put that back in, and it makes that, and it reinvest that, and I put that back in, and it makes that, I reinvest that, and I buy that, and I do that, and I do this, and I do that, and it was just a mathematical formula. And it's like, this works. It didn't work to the mathematical formula I wanted, because it was supposed to be a hell of a lot more, but I'm no bothered. It's like it's like aiming for the stars and catching the moon on the way down. I would still be on Earth if I hadn't bothered.
But it's safe to say then that your financial education has been such a critical part of your success.
Probably financial education, yes. And everybody, I'll hear somebody saying, it's like, but you're an accountant, you would know these things.
You don't need to be Einstein here. We're just meaning.
Just let me explain this. How many wealthy accountants do you really know? They're still working.
Yeah.
Remember, they only take a snapshot of where you are right now and record that for you financially. They don't actually know how to invest. They don't understand how to do all that. They're working just like you in a job, or they'll be retired if they were that wealthy. So it's not because I'm an accountant. It's because I've understood the dynamics of the game. I've understood the rules, and I've played to the rules.
And used the skills that you've learned in accountancy to learn about investing, like you said, in businesses and the market and money management and all these things that help you be successful and build wealth.
Use the skills, I would say, in financial education, not necessarily accountancy, because accountancy is all catchy, like tax, management accounting, financial accounting, auditing. It's all that. So it scares people because it's a minefield, if that makes sense. So it's a catch-all phrase, and people become terrified because of it. So it's just about financial education. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's reading all the right books. All the information's out there in books from people that have actually trodden this path before. They all understand it, so they've actually written books about it. And as a result, you buy their book, you get to learn that as well.
Yeah. And when we think about, well, when you think about your financial freedom, or do you think your financial freedom is something that happens quite quietly? A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be financially free overnight, but it really takes a bit of time, and it just kind of happens in the background from you doing these, methodically and systematic things and being consistent over time.
Yeah, I suppose it does. I mean, in the early days, I never had any real handle on the net worth, the wealth and what the net worth was. In other words, assets minus liabilities. All I was focused on was what income is it generating in order to keep the whole thing going, the lifeblood of the business, the cash flow. That's all I was interested in doing. And as a result, now and again, I would go, okay, that looks a good one, I could maybe buy. Right, okay, where's the valuations of them now? It's like, where are we now in valuations? Okay, that makes sense. I can go to the bank now. I can remortgage. I can release more money. I can buy that other one and add that to my portfolio as well. That's the only reason I did that. Now, today, I've just got everything at a touch of a button.
Yeah, everything's automated and everything's just there
everything's automated, so I can just look straight away and go, where am I with everything? And what am I generating? What's my return on investment? What's the highest interest rates can go before I need to actually start worrying? And that's a huge tolerance threshold.
Tolerance,
yeah. It's like, if interest rates go to where I would be in some sort of bother or thinking or a bit nervous about it, then everybody's going to hell in a handbasket.
We'll all be there together. No matter
honestly,
what,
the whole economy is crashing if that's the case, if interest rates go there. So it wouldn't bother me really, because we're all going the same way. And I've always said, and it's funny, I always used to say this before, is like, by the time before it gets to that point, the government will actually step in and bail us out. And that was before the credit crunch. I used to say that. And look what happened.
Yeah.
I remember I used to say that all the time. If it goes to that level, we're all in trouble. So the government would probably step in and actually do something about it. And look what happened. And look what happens today. So it still happens today. The government is consistently trying to bail people out all the time still. Every single time. Without actually letting anybody fail. That's the problem. That's the problem for your new starts, your youth and your youth generation, the generation that's coming up now. There's no opportunity really for them to get in there because the government's making sure every business isn't failing. So therefore, they're not seeing opportunities of where to start a new business or take over an existing sort of field that they could do slicker and easier. As a result, it's the dinosaurs are still getting bailed out.
Yeah. Yeah, and the new blood's not getting a chance to come in and kind of find their place.
That's why there's a problem at youth unemployment. That, and as well as you kind of keep putting minimum wage up more, hugely more than what the normal inflation is or any average salary is, and then expect to not have a catastrophic effect on employment, because employers are like, why would I employ somebody really unskilled and straight out of education? Yeah, if I can get someone experience and all the rest of it for the same price.
Yeah.
They've kind of priced themselves out the market, or the government's priced them out the market.
So let's look at the opportunities that the economy today does flag up, because the economy today, it presents quite a lot of risks, but also there's a lot of opportunities in there, and people tend to jump on the side that it's all the bad side of things in the economy today. But there's so much opportunity out there. When people panic, that's when you should look for opportunities to better yourself or your business model, or whatever it may be.
When people are greedy, be fearful. When people are fearful, be greedy. And as Rothschild used to say, I'll wait till there's blood on the streets before I start buying,
Mm-hmm.
because then that's when you'll get them at better values, and prices will be more reflective of the current situation. And we all know historically a recession lasts 18 months and then it's back to business as usual.
So they say, yeah.
Yeah, so there's opportunities for people that obviously have to liquidate pretty quick. Then you could step in and actually pick that opportunity up. Just the way of the world. The way it happens is they've exposed themselves far too much. They've taken too much risk. It's kind of their own fault that they've left themselves in that position.
Yeah, and a lot of people still have the mindset, or probably kind of drilled into them, that save and keep money aside and you should be fine. But to just hold on to savings, I mean, inflation's completely eroded the value of cash, and that's why investments are more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. No bank's going to give you more than what inflation is.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work like that. So if you're putting in a normal savings account, you're just not going to get that return. If you really want a decent return, you're going to have to put it into some form of investment, whether it's an equity, UK equities, or whatever you want to put in. It all depends on your tolerance to risk and where you are in terms of your risk appetite. For some people, that's fine. They'll just keep their cash. They're no bothered if inflation erodes it away because they can't really physically see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a classic example about the cap on energy prices is going up by 13%. Wait a minute, inflation's only about 3%.
Yeah.
It's going up 13%. My gas and electricity bill. Yep, it certainly is. Because of the war that's going on now with Iran and Israel and America. The one that we didn't start. One person. Well, 2 people started who were in charge of these 2 countries. It's like, and now they're having to free the Straits of Hormuz, I think it is. It's like, wait a minute, it was free in the first place. There was no problem in the first place. So what exactly are you actually doing? Oh, mopping up your mess. That's what you're doing. You're not winning anything. You're just trying to reset it back to what it was.
Yeah, created all this, and then just to kind of get back to where we were in the first instance.
Just cause turmoil worldwide. But when these things happen, there's opportunities for people.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Like the opportunities at things like the pandemic, you used the pandemic as an opportunity time when everybody started to panic and think, "Oh, I'm going to sell up," and wars are another thing. And it might sound a bit controversial, like, "Oh, you're waiting on these kind of horrible situations in the world to capitalize on," but if you don't, someone else will.
I don't think it's a case of you don't, someone else will. I think it's the fact that it's your ability to be patient and risk adverse and be prepared for an opportunity to appear rather than running recklessly and trying to buy everything on the premise that it's always going to go up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's another opportunity arising, and it has done in the last 12, 18 months, and will continue for the rest of this year, is the amount of changes in legislation and letting and managing properties. It's putting so many self-managed people off, and a lot of people are selling up. There's a prime opportunity for investors as well.
Which is completely naive from the point of the landlords that are selling up. But they may be selling up because they're exposed, remember, and they don't have the time. But if they don't have the time, then they look to a letting agent, and then they realise the letting agent's 15% at least. So then they think to themselves, I can't afford that, to pay that, so I'm just going to have to sell. And then, depend on market conditions, on the state of their property, or if the tenant's still in situ, that could affect the value of their investment. And that's when, so you never want to be in a position where you're forced into what we call a fire sale. In other words, we're just going to have to get rid of it at all costs because it's now becoming encumbrant on us. It's now a weight on us, rather than actually, oh well, we're going to sell it because it makes sense to take the capital gain and then maybe reinvest it somewhere else. You're probably, you have to have some coherent strategy, but you also have to de-risk the situation to make sure you're be in a position to do that when something like that happens. And it shows how experienced investors often find opportunities during these uncertain economic periods. Definitely. Technology and artificial intelligence are also creating entirely new ways for people to generate income through digital businesses, automation, online brands, things like that. The biggest opportunities often appear before everyone else sees them.
Yeah.
The biggest
Technology is a big
opportunities
thing.
often appear before everybody else sees them. But you've got to make sure you understand your market. Look how many cryptocurrencies are no longer here and how much billions has been lost by investors because of it. And yet today, people still insist that cryptocurrency is going to be way of the future. There's billions being lost. Billions.
Yeah.
And yet they're still insisting it's going to be way of the future. And that's effectively what happens. The same thing, by the way, is going to happen with artificial intelligence. Some people will be invested in companies that are overvalued at this point in time in terms of their stock. And then when that takes a correction, they're going to be taking a haircut. Excuse the pun.
I do agree with the AI thing. I mean, there's been so much hype around AI that I think it's been oversold. Although I think that it has its place and it has its benefits, and you could streamline your processes with technology and AI and things within your business and how you do things to save time, which ultimately is money. Definitely, but it's been overhyped a bit.
Well, we're overhyping it now, or they're overhyping it now, let's say, by saying things like, "Oh, we're not going to introduce this version, because we know it's going to wipe out the whole world." And it's like, and everybody's going, oh, "Take my money now!" It's like, give it here. Here's my money. It's like, and that's the only reason they're saying it. They've probably not even got that version. It's like Ronald Reagan with Star Wars. I mean, he got the Russians to the table when he announced it. I'm going to have Star Wars as a program, and I'm going to put satellites. I'm going to shoot down your missiles and everything like that straight away. And then when I press a button, they're going to eliminate everything in the world that we want to eliminate, and it's going to be in there. And then the Russians went, "Oh, we'll come to the table and negotiate." Star Wars never existed, and it was never going to be possible. It was never possible to do, but they believed the hype.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose if you hype anything up enough, then people will listen.
Let's talk about quick wealth moves.
Yep. So I think in terms of quick wealth moves, focusing on these practical improvements that you can make and actions that you could take and things that you could start immediately. And like we talk about, automating things within your investments in your business and improving your financial awareness. And like we said, we're not asking, or we're not saying that you need to be some really intellectual kind of Einstein when it comes to the financial side of things. I'm not the best person with numbers, but you need to have a general, or have a general like knowledge, or think, right, I need to find somebody that's good at doing this for me.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's automating investments, improving your awareness, developing high income skills. They're all in books. You just read the right books, create additional income streams, networking with ambitious and financially educated people is also highlighted as an important wealth strategy.
Yeah.
Remember, they're there to make money, so they're going to upsell you on other courses, but just make sure that this course is actually going to give you value for money, or you've got a full money back guarantee or whatever, and it's in writing if that's the case. Because often you're caught up in the hype, and I've done it in the past. I've caught in the hype, signed up for the course. I'm halfway through the course, and I'm thinking, this is a waste of my time, and it's like I just leave. I'm not wanting the money. It's my own fault for signing up. I've learnt my lesson. It's like, yeah, okay, that was daft. You shouldn't have paid all that up front. You should have just gone at piecemeal. But it is what it is. Move on. That's kind of. I think the most important thing to do is try what we call the £100 challenge.
£100 challenge. Yeah, and I think this is good because it shows that you could start something, do something small. And once you grasp the fact that it works on a small level, you could then scale up.
Yeah, it's a bit like kind of starting on eBay and starting to sell your stuff that you don't need anymore, and you kind of think, oh, this works. Actually, I'm making a couple of quid here and there. It's like, oh, could I sell other people's stuff for them? Let's see. Or can I buy other stuff at car boot sales and sell that and make money out of that? There's some people that are really ambitious at that and make quite a lot of money. Because I tell you what,
of people out there, and the start is very, very small.
One person's junk is another person's fortune. It's like somebody out there wants it. Somebody out there wants what you're just about to chuck away. It's amazing. Let's wrap up here and talk about what's the closing message here.
I think to close and round off today, remember that the wealth that you create it through consistent, smart decisions over time, and that's ultimately what we've been trying to put across here. And the encouragement here is for everyone to kind of take that one positive financial step, even if it's just one thing a week. Even if it's the £100, try and make £100 in investments, try and develop your skills, and reduce your unnecessary spending is such a big thing. And always look for new opportunities. We've just gave you all these different times and ways to look for opportunities. So try and do that. And to finalise with a message kind of I would put across is that the money moves that you make today really will determine what your freedom looks like, and not, I don't mean tomorrow, further down the line.
Yeah. I mean, this what we just talked about is designed to really inspire people to think differently about their situation, about money, ownership, investing, and long-term financial freedom. This investing carry on, when people say it's only for the rich, it's like, no, it wasn't. It never was. In the 1980s, the Conservative government and Margaret Thatcher especially decided that she wanted small players like just you and I just to have access to buy shares, and that's where all this came from, and invest in our own futures and build our own futures as a result, and that was what was determined by that at that time. And we're now we're coming up for 50 years on almost. 50 years on, and we are, to a degree, we are more prosperous than we were in the 1980s. For most people that don't somebody said to me the other day, it's ridiculous. The mortgage, the rent and everything like that is, and the percentage it is, and it's ridiculous. I'm paying so much out my income, and I worked it out, and I'm like, okay, the average person in Scotland, according to the government and the figures, actually pays 26.5% of their income. I says, I tell you what, I'll take you back to the 1980s where I was paying 55% of my income on my mortgage.
Could see that doing well.
Aye. And I just put hashtag entitled. It's amazing. It's
You're
like,
right.
it's because they've never experienced. We have a generation of younger people who have never experienced a recession. They've never experienced tough times because the government's bailed us out all this time since 2008. And we are now coming up to 20 years on. So we've got a generation that don't understand what it's like to struggle. Understand what it's like to struggle. And it's that old adage, isn't it? Strong people create weak times and weak people. And then eventually weak people then have to step up and go, okay, they'll have to become strong people again. And it just goes round in a cycle. It's just a fact of life. That's it. So my key phrase out of this, and I'll just finish off exactly after this, is I will do today what others will not, to achieve tomorrow what others cannot. And that's it.
Good. Yeah. Making smarter money moves is definitely a thing that everybody needs to try and get a better grasp on. And hopefully we've covered a lot of good advice in that show today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got anything, jump in the comments. You could reach out to me direct with anything. My email is in the blog attached to this. And until next time, Jim and I will see you on the next show.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Jim. Bye.